What's up, everybody? I hope that your weeks and weekends are going well. So today I have a video for us to talk and learn about. Um, on Friday, June 6th, so at the time of the recording, last Friday, it's Monday now, um, we got the box art for the Call of the Stones Dragon boxes. And so there's been a lot of discussion in the Discord about that box art. And I think it's something really interesting for us to discuss as a community. And so there's kind of two main categories of things that I am planning to talk about. What dragon is on the box and the controversy around the box and like how people are feeling about the box art. And so I'm just going to start by talking about what dragon it is. There's a lot of different things that a lot of different proofs that people are thinking it might be. Some of these that I'm going to show you are straight from the Discord. But before we do that, I'm going to make sure that I just pause for a second and put the box art up on screen, so that y'all who may not have seen it can go ahead and see it. I think it looks really cool. I really like the logo. It sets kind of the vibe for the set, I feel like, in a lot of ways that I think is really cool. But we'll get into what a lot of other people think in a little while. But just here's the box art. I think it's pretty cool. And so let's talk a little bit about what dragons this might be. So I've got a couple of dragons listed here that it might be. My list contains Celestus the Crystal Dragon, Crystal Star Drake, Serpent of Serendipity, Draconine Guardian, and of course there is the option or the chance, that's the word I'm looking for, that it could be a new proof. And we'll talk a little bit more about if it could be a new proof and what that looks like, and some of the opinions revolving around that, when we get through all the other existing proofs. So the first one is Celestus the Crystal Dragon. I'm gonna put it up here somewhere on screen for you. And so I think this is not a bad guess on what this could be. This is a legendary form, so it just makes sense to use a legendary form as the box art. It's a crystal dragon. If you look at the box art, it's dragon with crystals. So and it doesn't look dissimilar. So I mean, it's kind of one of my best guesses as to what it is. There's also the Crystal Star Drake, which y'all should be seeing here. I think this is also a pretty good guess. I think the fact that it is not legendary makes it a little less likely, in my opinion, but who knows. But again, it's got that very crystalline look that we see on the main box art. The next one is Draconine Guardian. Again, this looks very similar to the Crystal Star Drake and the Celestus Crystal Dragon. I think it's got that, like I said, you're going to hear me say the word crystal a lot because that's the best descriptor of the dragon. It's got a very crystal look, and it's got a very powerful look. The kind of the swoopy of the horns matches the box art a little bit. So I'll just be interested to see when the reveal comes what dragon this actually is. The last proof that I think it could be, and this is one I remember specifically seeing in the Discord, is the Serpent of Serendipity. This is not my guess as to what this box art might be. For one, it is not technically a dragon. Well, it is technically an orbital class serpent lineage dragon, which it looks much less dragon-like than some of the others, and it, although it's got that rainbow colors that the box art has, it doesn't have the like aggressive, spiny, like gemstone lookingness that the others have. That by no means do I think it's not a guess. It's just not what I would put my money on. And so I think it's really interesting to see what all the speculation has been about what proof this would be, what proof this is. And then, of course, the last option is that it's a new proof, that it's not one of the proofs already in the Wonders of the First proof thing. I'm so good at technology and understanding NFTs, y'all, for sure. That's not already in the proof collection, that's the word, in the Wonders of First collection in OpenSea. And so there's a lot of opinions about that. And yes, we do have it confirmed that there can be new proofs in sets. I think that's something that a lot of us knew and that we've had confirmed at different times, but I just want to confirm and like reread to what Frenchie said in one of his posts commenting about this. He said, "I've always said that there would be new proofs in every set. Existence had like 75 or so that were new. I don't recall the actual number. It's a key piece of how new people have a chance to hit one of their own. I strongly believe that we've seen this over and over, that when people feel they are included in something, they support it more, meaning that a person that hits a character proof for Call of the Stones is more likely to engage in that side of the community and trade more and begin to look for other proofs to maybe buy and feel much better doing so. My thesis is that adding new proofs via randoms, which each set, and also mixing in old unused ones, will be accretive to all the proofs we saw play out with Existence." So that's kind of what Frenchie said about proofs. Basically, we know that there will be new proofs. And there's a lot of opinions that I saw in the Discord about whether or not this Dragon Box art should be a new proof. I remember distinctly a comment that said that Wonders had dropped the ball if it was a new proof that had been created. I think there's a lot of opinions around this because we all feel very passionately about our proofs. I have 5 proofs. Only one was in the Existence set. We don't know what's going to be in Call of the Stones, but I know that we all take a lot of pride in our proofs, and, we want to see them used. And so I get why people would feel like it's wrong, we should use a proof that's already in existence, but I also really feel like, sorry, I'm trying to make sure I phrase this right, so if I'm pausing, that's often what I'm doing. I'm thinking the sentences before they come out my mouth so that I have a filter. I really understand the emotional attachment and want to see our proofs. And I understand the frustration, but I do think that using a new proof on a box art could really encourage new collectors, people who are trying to get involved in the collecting aspect of Wonders, to really start engaging with the community, to really start searching for those proofs. And I think there's a lot of options there. I don't think that one decision is right or wrong. I think it's just depends on what the Wonders team is looking to do with the box art and with these new proofs or old proofs. And so, that's kind of my debate and discussion on what dragon is on the box. The answer is, I don't know. There's a lot of cool things it could be. It could be a new proof, could be a proof that somebody already owns. We shall see. And so that brings us to the controversy about the box. I feel like there's kind of 2 different complaints in the controversy. Some people say that it feels too cartoony, or prehistoric rather than cosmic, and that they don't like the font. And I think that kind of bundles into this second complaint that I was seeing in the Discord more accurately, about it feeling inconsistent. And so I think that's a really interesting complaint to see, and as somebody who comes from a MTG, Magic the Gathering, other different trading card games background, I think it's a really interesting complaint. And so before we deep dive into the complaint, I just want to say that there's also a lot of good things that people are saying about the box. They say it's nostalgic, like going to an arcade when they were a kid. I remember seeing the word rad, which I thought was pretty cool. And a lot of people are really excited about the box art, but being happy does not make nearly as good a video as some people being upset. So that's kind of what we're going to focus on and talk about as a whole with this section of the video, is that conversation about the art being inconsistent. And, you know, one thing I saw that I thought was really interesting was that somebody did actually make an alternate version of the box art. I'll pop that up here. And a lot of this discussion started being around the font. So if we compare the first box art and the second box art, you'll see that, like, one has the original version of the box art has call and stones in the same text and of the in a different text. And the other one is all the same kind of text. The dragon's a little bigger. You know, I really like the original box. I come from like I said, TCG background. It's something I'm used to seeing the big words in specific fonts, and I'll show y'all some Magic arts in just a minute. I see the design going forward with this one, and I think whoever edited it did a good job. I think that there's just a lot of really interesting discussion around the art on this playbox right now, and I think that it's fair for people to have a say, and I think it's fair for people to express their opinions. I think I'm a very empathic person, so this is me kind of just talking on my own about how I hold myself accountable. When I'm in a community and I'm talking about something I don't like, I try to be very clear about, like, not negatively saying anything negative about anyone else, like, and trusting that somebody who might have more information than I do knows something that I don't. I know that there were a couple of people who really stuck up for Frenchie in the Discord, and I think that's really great. I think as a whole, we as a community have a lot of different opinions, and I think figuring out how to have a healthy discourse of those opinions, and we do tend to have a healthy discourse, but, you know, just figuring out as we continue to grow and gain more people who have different players versus collectors mindsets, and you know, all these different opinions come together, making sure that we keep that, you know, kindness and helpfulness that we have is going to be really important. And I got really sidetracked there, y'all, so I'm sorry, but, you know, that's something that I feel passionate about. And so, you know, there was a lot of discussion about the font, and so I think that's where some of this is coming from, and I know Frenchie addressed that. And then, so the inconsistency is the easiest thing for me to talk about, the inconsistency. And I don't know how many people in the Wonders community play other card games. As I've probably mentioned in some other videos, I have been playing Magic for a long time. I have seen a lot of Magic sets come and go. And I want to talk about something and just look at a couple examples of more recent past 4 or 5 years of Magic the Gathering art sets. Art from Magic the Gathering sets. I recognize that Wonders is not Magic, but I think it's important to take into mind what these big games are doing and how that affects, you know, the thinking that people might be doing. And I want to start this with another quote from Frenchie. He said, "Set branding is an important element of things feeling fresh and new. 80% of the set will be cards that you couldn't really tell the difference on if you set them beside existence cards, but those are the core of the set. But then 20% are on the set theme. This logo, its sharp edges, cutting vibes are the brand of the set. Some will love, like, dislike, hate set aesthetics and vibes more than others. But we want to have the sets. I can't speak today, y'all. But we want to have sets that are iconic. We want sets that are memorable and stand out, and we don't get those without taking risks. I'm a big fan of the risk being taken with the Call of the Stones narrative. There are new mechanics that I think will be insane and dazzle the imagination. We will see more community-owned proofs enter the fray, and everyone will have opportunities to score new proofs." And he continues to talk a little bit about like different opinions, but I think this last sentence, but but under the hood, this is Wonders through and through. So, and this kind of matches how I've seen Magic do things. If you look back, like, closer to when I started playing Magic, we had this very, like, here are the planes that we visit, and each plane has a specific vibe, and you'd get that vibe for the year or for the set. And that's changed a little bit. Each set now tends to be a lot more different. And so I want to just take this time to look at a couple examples of art. So March of the Machine. This should be, I'm putting that art up somewhere. I'm still learning video editing, y'all, so give me a minute while I figure out which way to point. March of the Machine was a hit set. A lot of people loved it. I liked it because I got a lot of good pulls out of it. You know, that always affects how much we like a set if we're looking for pulls. And you see it's got this very yellow font with, like, the O is the Phyrexian symbol. For those who don't know, that's a really important lore piece and type of card in Magic. And so this set is really focused on Phyrexians. It's kind of a dark, oopy goopy, like oil counters were a part of this set, I'm pretty sure. Like, it's a very dark set focused on, like, symbiosis of man and machine. And not necessarily willing symbiosis, because that's the Phyrexians. And so its art has a gritty sort of, like, a dark machine feel to it. And then if you look at this next art, this is Lost Caverns of Ixalan. It is a completely different set. It has a completely different feel. Its cards are completely different. Ixalan is an old plane from Magic that people really liked. It's known for its dinos, its pirates, its vampires. There's something else that I'm not remembering, but I always tend to remember dinos, pirates, vampires, merfolk. That's the other one. I even have a merfolk deck. I don't know why I didn't remember that. But it's this very kind of, like, prehistoric plane for Magic to visit. And so it's got a lot of these really fun adventurer feeling cards. And if you look at it, the font of the word Ixalan is different. They tend to make the most important words a different font. And the art gives you the vibe of what this set is supposed to feel like. This is a completely different branding of a set than March of Machine. And that isn't just because these are two random different sets. Like, it continues in the same pattern. Let's look at Outlaws of Thunder Junction. These are just the arts that I was able to find, sets that I was able to find these kinds of arts for. Let's look at, like I said, let's look at Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Look at this. Can you tell automatically what theme this is? I could. It's Western. And as you see again, we've got those two different fonts bringing specific words to the forefront depending on what your eye is looking for. But as you look at this, you can tell that this is going to be a Western set. And when you looked at the cards, you can tell that it was a Western set. And so that's something that, you know, I don't think Wonders is going to have every single card. You can look at it and you know that it is a Call of the Stones. I think this is that 80-20 split. But I think there are going to be some cards that we look at and we know are Call of the Stones. And I think this branding is really important as the game grows, because if you don't know and there's not room of growth and individuality to every different set, it can get a little boring. And I don't mean that, I don't mean that, say that to be mean, but part of the fun of Magic the Gathering is that every set brings something new. Like, the Lost Caverns of Ixalan brought in a bunch of new game mechanics. Now, some of them were repeats that were really similar, that some of us were like, why didn't we just use the old mechanic? But that's not really relevant. Sorry, ADHD brain. But when a new mechanic is introduced into a game, it makes gameplay more fun for players. I don't know if any of y'all are just playing with the two starter decks, but even with as much versatility as in those two starter decks, if those two starter decks are the only decks you play, at some point, the patterns of what is going to happen is going to become predictable. introducing a new set and a theme and the vibe and everything new about that set freshens everything up. And it brings new life to the game because sorry, my brain is processing slower than my mouth is working. When Bloomburrow, that is a Magic the Gathering set that was based on cute fuzzy critters. I'm gonna see if I can find an image for y'all, and I'll make sure to pop it up here, but I'm gonna stop typing so that I can look at y'all. Very adorable, like critters, like mice. For any of y'all who are Redwall fans, it's like Redwall come to life in Magic. More people showed up to play Bloomburrow who hadn't played in 20 years because they liked the art. New people showed up to play Bloomburrow because they liked what it was about. If we have people who really like and I do agree, it seems the Call of the Stones seems to have a prehistoric vibe. If we have people who like dinos, who like, that sort of thing, they're going to show up and join the game because there's a set that they like. And so it's a really good way to get new people in the game. Magic the Gathering does this with their Universes Beyond sets. I have a lot of mixed opinions about that, and this is not the place to dive into them. But the more sets there are, the more that have different vibes, that have different themes, that introduce new things, the more new players we're going to get, and the more engaged old players are going to be. And so I really like this box art. I like that it's not 100% consistent with what we saw in the Existence set. The Existence set is the defining set, the set that defines what Wonders is, how it acts, that we're going to see in all these other cards. But I'm really excited to see where this new adventure takes us, to see what new set theme cards and abilities we're going to get. And so there's a lot to talk about here and a lot for people to discuss here. I would love to know, like, comment, and subscribe. Here's what I would love to see in the comments, as well as whatever y'all have to say. I'd love to see what proof you think that this dragon on this dragon box is. I'm going to put the art back up. And I'd love to know, how do you feel about this new kind of vibe, especially after hearing all these new thoughts. And so, like I said earlier, like, comment, subscribe. Please let me know what you think. I'm really excited to see what everybody's thinking. And as always, keep being your wonderful selves. Have a good day, everyone.